Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I appreciate you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That's the last time you're going to hear this in this video, because I'm going to talk about something that's really important. We all know about the riots that have been going on in Baltimore. We're aware of the injustices that have been happening towards minorities, specifically black people, over the past couple years. It's probably been going on since before we were born, but a spotlight has really been shined on it in the past few years. And I just see all these posts from, my counterparts that look like me and some of my counterparts that don't look like me. And I feel like there's a lot of ignorance out there, a lot of knowledge that is missing for certain people. And what I really just want to ask myself is, how can you judge someone based on how they are protesting? I don't agree with the violent riots, but I understand them. I understand that we have been holding back for centuries the potential of people of darker skin. I understand that we were taken from our homeland in Africa, many of us. Literally taken, kidnapped. And from the time we got off that boat up to the present day, we have been marginalized, we have been segregated, we have been discriminated against, and we have had a boot on our neck. And yet, there are people out there that will say, well, those people shouldn't protest that way, and I can't believe they're out there doing all this damage, and that's just not the answer. And I don't know that I can technically disagree with that not being the answer, but my question to you all that say that would be, well, what is the answer? Because we tried a peaceful protest with the civil rights movement. We tried doing it ourselves and being fairly peaceful but militant at the same time with the Black Panthers, and their whole leadership was killed or imprisoned, set up by the federal government. Look up those declassified documents if you want to know what I'm talking about. We've tried so many different things to go through the system to make it work. Just in recent years, Trayvon Martin case went to trial. Not guilty. Mike Brown went to trial. Not guilty. Eric Garner, who they have video footage of a police officer putting him in a chokehold that resulted in him having an asthma attack which killed him. Not guilty. We've trusted the system so much. So much. When slavery was over, when they signed that Emancipation Proclamation, people thought it was done. And then what did we come up with? Sharecropping, which is pretty much another version of slavery, because you don't make no money off sharecropping. You make just enough to survive. And oh, mind you, those slaves weren't educated, so they didn't know no better. Didn't know no better. But we know better today, and we're attempting to do better. But how can you tell somebody after you've had a boot on their neck for 300 plus years, after they finally get up, you done hit them in the throat, and then they get up and you're like, wait, hold on. These are the rules of engagement. This is how we're going to fight this battle. No, you don't get that right. You don't get that right. If I run up in your house and I diddle your daughter or one of your kids, or I rape your wife, I don't get to determine how you react to me later. I don't get to determine how you respond to my actions. I can't say that. So why are we condemning these people based off the actions of not even everybody, the actions of a few? We're condemning them. So my question, somebody please answer that. What is the way to handle it? If the justice system fails you, if your elected officials fail you, if the officials that are police officers meant to serve and protect everybody, not just the races that they like, but everybody, are constantly failing you. Constantly you are seeing people of a darker complexion being executed in the street like dogs by certain police officers that want to be judge, jury, and executioners. Then what do? See Langston Hughes' A Dream Deferred. What happens? It's like Tupac said, if I see that you guys got plenty food and plenty money in your house, and I'm starving outside, and I'm knocking on your door, and I'm like, please, let me in. I'm trying to sing my way into the doors, and you don't respond to me, after 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not singing no more. I'm knocking. Hey, let me in. Let me in. I'm hungry. After 6, 7 weeks pass by, I'm not saying let me in no more. I'm saying open the damn door. Open it. Open it. And then after a couple years, in our case, try a couple centuries, ain't nobody asking you to open that damn door no more. We picking the lock, we busting in that motherfucker, and we taking everything we got to get what we need to survive. But that's wrong. That's wrong. But if a bunch of people survive a crashed airplane and they start eating everybody to survive the dead bodies, oh well, we just did what we needed to do to make it. But when we do it here in America, those guys are animals. They deserve everything they get. Those beasts. A little bit of a double standard, don't you think? Speaking of double standards, I find it odd that a lot of the news media coverage, a lot of the posts that I see on the internet, especially the racist posts that are derogatory towards black people, they are always so willing to hold black people to a higher standard than they're willing to hold themselves. But yet they consider themselves to be better than us. In what psychology class does that work? Where they do that at? You guys ever heard that term, where they do that at? I still don't know where they do that at. You better than me. But the standard of my quality of life, how I'm supposed to conduct myself, is a higher standard than you're willing to hold yourself to. Ain't that crazy? You guys see how it's messed up? We marginalize black people in this country. We're willing to tell a black person, oh, well, you need to go back to Africa. Not realizing, well, wait, if we actually trace back the lineage, my black ancestors were probably here before your ancestors were here. If you really look it back, because America's just a country of immigrants, unless you're an Indian. And we saw what those Caucasians did to the Indians, them smallpox blankets, the genocide. But why don't you ask a Cherokee Indian about that Trail of Tears? But y'all want to tell somebody to protest peacefully. When have you guys ever come in peace? When? You didn't come in peace when we founded this country. You didn't come in peace to the Crusades to the Holy Land. You didn't come in peace when we invaded Iraq or Afghanistan. But we did all of that in the name of democracy and religious freedom. Seriously? So you want to put a stamp on it that justifies it when you do it. But when somebody else does it, when a minority does it, when a black person does it, they're animals. They deserve what they get. Do you think about the things that come out of your mouth? Have a lot of you who are willing to judge these people. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree with violence, but what other options? What other options are there? Really? I saw a picture the other day with Malcolm X laying in the casket and Martin Luther King laying in the casket. And it said, whether violent or peaceful, still ends the same. And as you can see, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So don't delude yourself into thinking the way that you go about it is going to help you have any different result than greater men that came before you. I don't understand. I really don't. But what gets me the most angry and the most heated is we will sit there and we will have world tribunals and trials for Nazi war criminals that persecuted Jews in the Holocaust. We will sit there and we will send Saddam Hussein to the world tribunal and give him a trial to his death for his war crimes against his people. But black people in America have been persecuted for 300 plus years, and the world has sat back and just watched like, oh, I wonder what the niggers in America are going to do today. I wonder. It's crazy to me that even one of the most sadistic men that we consider to ever have walked the face of the earth, Adolf Hitler, said, oh, I don't even need to worry about America because the black people and the white people are going to kill themselves off over there. He murdered millions of people, but he wasn't worried about it because he knew what was going on over here. Is that not disgusting to you? That he thought that what was going on over here with minorities was so corrupt and pervasive in its corruption that he didn't need to be bothered with it? That should set off a light bulb in your head right there. And I just find it crazy. You know, we'll fight all these other wars. We'll fight the war against terrorism. You know, we'd be worried about ISIS. We'd be worried about China becoming a global power. You know, we're worried about the Mexicans crossing the border into our country and taking our jobs. They took our jobs. But the greatest threat to our national security isn't the minorities rioting. The greatest threat to our national security is the elected officials and these police officers who don't uphold their oath out here executing people like they're a judge and jury. But nobody has anything to say about it. Not the United Nations, not the UK, not France, not Japan, not Russia. Nobody wants to stand up for us. Nobody. Not even our own country. The crazy part is, some of us don't even want to stand up for us. When a black person gets killed in these streets, nobody ain't shedding no tears. Nobody. Craziest thing to me is, we are so conditioned as a people to hate ourselves and to strive towards a Caucasian or a global appeal. We hate our noses. We hate our hair. We hate our lips. We hate our skin. Isn't that crazy? Because the rest of the world wants the big lips. The rest of the world wants the big booty. They want the big breasts. But they got us so messed up in the head, we hate everything about us. Meanwhile, everybody else is trying to look like or be like us. Doesn't that tell you something? Shouldn't that tell you something? We need to start valuing ourselves. We need to start doing things for ourselves and promoting ourselves and not trying to downplay any other races, but really, if you can't take pride in your own race, your own self, without being called a racist, what does that say about the rest of the world? Do you hate us that much that I can't even say I love a black woman? I can't say I love me? What's wrong with me loving me? Because you guys love you all the time. I see it in Barbie. I see it on the news. I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. Y'all want to get mad because black people have a month? Y'all literally have 365 days out of every day of this motherfucking year. And sometimes twice on a leap year. But you want to get mad at me. Mad at us. Because I want to uplift something that's been torn down for over 300 years. And the world has sat idly by and allow us to be persecuted. Allow us to be murdered. Allow us to be killed relentlessly. Raped. Pillaged. Was it not enough? Was it not enough to rape and pillage Africa? Y'all stopped taking all of the material, inanimate objects, and y'all started taking people. And it wasn't enough just to take the people and put them to work. You had to start breeding the people. Start killing the people. Maiming the people. And even after you ended slavery and you said, oh, my bad, we realized that was wrong and you guys might actually be people instead of what? The 2/3 compromise? Instead of 2/3 of a person? You guys might actually be a whole person? But hold on. Let me put this glass ceiling here so that maybe you can see what I got in here, but you can't never get it. That's crazy. And you wonder why our culture is behind. You wonder why there isn't as much emphasis on education in the black culture. You've separated us. You've separated all of us. You've separated us from our home in Africa, the roots, because we don't get along with them, or they don't like us, and we don't like them. They think they're more pure. We think we're over here in America and that we live a little bit better. We hate the way each other look. History is so important. If you don't know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. So, I don't know, when you come up with something like Jim Crow that teaches me how to hate myself, and then take me away from my home world where all the lore is, all the oral traditions and the written traditions, and I don't know anything about me, how can I ever become better? How can I ever get on the level with you? It's impossible. I can't. So I encourage all of you out here that's watching this video, share this. Repost it. Really let people know. Because you can't judge somebody until you've walked a mile in their shoes. And by a mile, I mean 300 plus years of slavery. That's what I mean by a mile. And then after that, let's add on a couple another years of segregation. And then add on a couple another years of police brutality and complete outright disregard for people of color. Whether you be black or you just have the same kind of skin tone as me, but you might be Indian or Mexican or wherever you fall. We got to start caring about one another. Because a problem with one group is a problem with every group. Because what happens when we all gone? What happens when all the black people gone? You think it's just going to stop? No, they're going to find somebody else. And when all the minorities are gone and it's just a middle class and an upper class left, well, who you think they're looking at? Spotlight might be on black people right now, but it's not always going to be on us. It's going to be somebody else. It's going to be some of y'all. And when they're looking at your sons and daughters on TV, slaughtered in the streets, or run over from the back by a police officer, and then you got people on YouTube and all over the place saying, yes, applaud him because he ended the situation without harming any other lives. But he almost killed a man. I could have sworn that we had a justice system so that the judge and the jury could determine whether or not he was guilty. Could have sworn that. Maybe I was mistaken. I thought I lived in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But sometimes I wonder if that's just a slogan that you guys like to say. In any case, what do I know? I just do my research. Y'all have a good night. And before you judge somebody, make sure you know what you're talking about and that you've experienced what they've experienced. And if you haven't, then maybe you should sit down with somebody and try to understand where they're coming from before you start slinging mud. Especially when in the same city a couple of years ago, Caucasian people were rioting and causing millions of dollars worth of damage, flipped cars and destroyed businesses and people's homes because a damn hockey team lost. Really? Come on now. Let's end the double standard at least. At least do that for me. Y'all have a good night.